At the start of the episode, we're reminded how all of humanity became immortal, but in exchange, everyone was turned into stone. Humans didn't like that, and Dr. Zeno says they'll go to the moon and negotiate with whoever is behind this. The episode is titled Future Engine. Dr. Zeno has now joined Senku's team to go to the moon, which surprises everyone. Then Jen asks about a machine in front of them. Zeno explains that it's cooling air, but actually it's extracting argon gas from the atmosphere. Taiju calls it a cooler, but Zeno corrects him. Suika gets curious and asks how it works. Zeno explains that electricity is passed through a glass tube filled with argon gas. Suika questions how electricity can pass through air, and Zeno demonstrates it. They explain that this machine detects radiation and can help locate mineral deposits. It's actually a 21st century technique, and Zeno even says a middle schooler could make it with enough knowledge. After finding ore deposits, they start mining. They find iron, molybdenite, chromium ore, nickel, and more. Senku gets super excited because these are exactly the rare materials needed to build a spaceship. Then they bring out the Perseus ship from the water after 7 years. It's in terrible condition. Kaseki promises to fix it, but instead, they decide to dismantle it and recycle the iron, since iron is scarce in that region. Senku suggests remodeling it into a new Perseus. Next, they create a new material by combining metals, a super alloy. By mixing chromium with iron, they create something stronger and resistant to rust and corrosion, stainless steel. But what do they use it for? Senku says, food cans. Everyone is confused, but they start packing food in stainless steel cans. With added elements like zirconium and tantalum, these cans can preserve food for up to 3,700 years. In modern times, something like this would cost millions. They continue reviving strong people using revival fluid and preparing for the moon mission, but they still need more materials from around the world. So they decide to split into teams. One team stays behind to continue scientific work. One team goes back to Corn City. The third team travels across the world to gather materials. Meanwhile, they work on fuel. Since they don't have petroleum, Senku introduces biofuel, made from organic waste like leaves, leftover food, etc. They collect gas from decomposition and store it in tanks. Kaseki builds a spherical tank, and they perfect its shape using an explosion trick. Dr. Zeno works on super alloys and explains that creating them requires extreme heat and dangerous processes. Toxic gases are involved, which can kill through skin contact. He calls himself a dark scientist, someone who handles dangerous tasks, while Senku is a light scientist who leads humanity forward. Together, they form the ultimate combination. Months pass, and finally they test a gas turbine engine. It's not yet a full rocket engine, but it's a big step forward. Then the new Perseus is completed with a massive upgrade. Old, 300 horsepower, 4-knot speed. New, 10,000 horsepower, much faster. They can cross the Pacific in 40 days and the Atlantic in weeks. During their journey, they enjoy modern-like comforts, electricity, AC, even ice cream. But communication is tricky. Without satellites, they rely on Morse code. Then comes a shocking moment. They detect a signal, possibly from the moon. At first, it seems random, but when decoded, it says, "Do you want to die?" In the last episode, we saw that Y-Man was threatening everyone through radio signals. His message was loud and clear. Do you want to die? Hearing this, everyone was shocked, but surprisingly, Nanami got excited and told them to reply. Jen, however, suggested they wait and whispered something to him. Even though they kept sending signals, they were completely ignored, and eventually, the other side stopped transmitting too. Jen then pointed out that this isn't entirely bad. We've learned something important. Y-Man definitely has some intention. He's not responding, but he is warning us. That means he's not going to attack them with a Medusa blast immediately. Senku then realizes that this means they're getting closer to Y-Man, so close that he's losing patience, especially since they're planning to land on the moon. Chelsea gets confused and asks, wait, are we really going to land on the moon? Won't we just float there? Senku says yes, that's exactly what will happen, and that's how they'll greet Y-Man too. That's why they're building everything from scratch. A rocket engine, a spaceship, and a spacesuit, all made by people from the Stone Age. These 3 things are essential for a moon landing. So their next destination is Spain, where they plan to collect fluorite. This mineral is important for both spaceships and spacesuits. Nanami and Francois are also interested in olive oil, so they head toward the Mediterranean Sea. Senku explains that fluorite emits light when heated, making it very useful. Meanwhile, Nanami dreams of traveling the whole world with their ship, collecting resources everywhere, including Barcelona. Kohaku gets confused by city names, and Jen gets confused about distances. But eventually, they reach land within a week, showing how amazing their ship, the Perseus, really is. Nanami suggests harvesting olives, and Chelsea starts mapping the the area. Kohaku wonders if they even have time for this, but Senku reminds everyone that they need food, shelter, and clothing anyway, so why not enjoy a bit too? Jen jokes, "What's there to enjoy? This is the stone world." Still, they gather olives and make oil. Senku and Kaseki create a machine that crushes olives, basically like a blender, to extract oil quickly. Francois cooks delicious meals using olive oil, and everyone loves the taste. It feels like a whole village has formed again. They even start interacting with locals, and Francois greets them in French. Suika learns the word gracias, which means thank you. You can also comment gracias if you're enjoying the video. At night, Kohaku and Chrome go hunting but get chased by wild bulls. Nanami steps in and handles them like a pro, almost like bullfighting. They start getting milk from cows, and Francois makes snacks using milk and olive oil. Meanwhile, Nanami introduces a currency system using coins made from super alloy, with different values and faces like Senku and Chrome on them. People are amazed by how advanced Senku's team is, but Nanami reminds them, they're not doing this for thanks. They're greedy, and they plan to do this all over the world. Jen adds that they'll revive people everywhere. Nanami says everyone will need to work hard, and hints that controlling a global currency could be powerful. People start asking for work, and since they need more materials, they begin mining. Eventually, they find fluorite in Barcelona, sparkling, translucent rocks also called firefly stones in Japanese. Kaseki processes it, and Senku explains that polished fluorite can be used to make high-precision lenses, perfect for telescopes. They even build a telescope and observe the moon. If they make it big enough, they might even see Y-Man. Then Senku introduces a mini rocket model using a prototype engine from Xeno. Nanami brings a globe because they need precise calculations for their next destination, India, known as the City of Mathematics. Senku explains that India has always been advanced in mathematics, and they'll need a great mathematician to calculate the rocket trajectory. But reaching India from Spain by sea is a huge challenge. Fuel consumption is already higher than expected, and producing more fuel could take months or even years. Everyone is shocked, but then Chrome notices a narrow point on the map. If they break through it, they can create a shortcut route. This is the Suez Canal, but after 3,000 years, no one knows its condition. Nanami hesitates since it could be blocked, but Chelsea suggests they can check using a telescope from a hot air balloon. After observing, she confirms that the canal is blocked, but not naturally. It's just debris like logs and wood. Kohaku suggests destroying it, but it's 20-kilometer long, too much to handle manually. Nanami suggests blowing it up. That's when Senku comes up with a wild idea. He turns the mini-rocket into a missile by attaching dynamite and controlling it wirelessly. He launches it, and boom, it clears the blockage. The Perseus passes through, and they successfully open the canal, gaining a shortcut to India. Now they're finally heading toward India. Kohaku asks why they're going there and what they'll find. Nanami answers, they'll combine their rocket technology with India's mathematical power to reach Y-Man, because in the end, the greatest strength of humanity is mathematics.
In the previous episode, we saw how Senku's team opened the Suez Canal and they moved towards Spain. From Spain, they are heading towards India for a great mathematician because they need calculations for launching a rocket or for rocket making, which only a mathematician can do, and India is very famous for that. They need one of the greatest mathematicians, so they are going to India. And this rocket trajectory is very important because Senku can do calculations, but his calculations are approximate. They need minute-to-minute calculations because their lives depend on how they reach the moon, because they also have to rotate from the moon and come back. Otherwise, they will directly go out into space if their trajectory is not correct. And NASA uses 15 digits of pi for this, because pi has the longest non-continuous or non-repeating value. So that's why they are going to India for mathematical skills. Here, Francois tells that Nanami's ancestors or his parents had opened universities all over the world to nurture talent. And these universities and colleges were spread all around the world. So there must have been such a college in India as well. So they will go to that university location where there might be many students who can do such great calculations. They might also find professors there, because when Apollo was first sent into space, computers were not that advanced. Humans themselves were computers at that time. Nanami also says that if they are lucky, they might find Sai there. Sai is the same mathematician they are looking for. Nanami also praises him, saying that he can do very strong calculations. And we see that the year is October 1st, 5750. They have reached India. Nanami sees that there is cumin here. Cumin plants are here. There is cardamom as well. They have also found coriander. That means they are getting spices here. India is famous for spices. We all know that. They also get turmeric. And we can say they get haldi too. Here, Francois is making all these spices and blending them. She even makes naan here. And they are sitting and eating Indian food. Many things are mentioned here that represent Indian culture. We have seen spices, but it is also noticeable that they might be eating on banana leaves, which we also do in India. Not everywhere, but eating on leaves is done in India. You can also see lanterns here, which are in Indian style, as we can see here. And since they opened the Suzu Canal, they reached here quickly, which is very good for them. Here, Kohaku mentions Ruri. She says that Ruri will soon reach Kohaku's age or might be younger because they are still frozen or in stone. They are worried that those people might have broken. Suika is worried about how they will be fixed if they are broken. Kohaku says that's not the case. Ruri must have made a proper strategy. When they were about to turn into stone, they must have taken a posture that would keep them safe and prevent breaking. Kohaku also says that she is her sister, so she knows this much. Chrome says that's why they need to hurry, but Kohaku starts teasing him about Ruri. Then Nanami comes and says that they have to find him, and if you know someone well, you also know where that person might be. Nanami calculates that when the first light flashed, it must have been around 9:30 a.m. in India. At that time, classes would just be starting, so Sai must have been on his laptop then, where he was getting a good signal. That means when Sai turned into stone, he must have been on the rooftop of the school. Kohaku asks if he really knows him that well. Then they move ahead to find Sai. They might have difficulty with location, but since they have Chelsea, they won't face issues. Chelsea will tell the location, Suika will calculate the distance, and they will find Sai. Senku is calculating soil, and Chelsea knows the original map. She can determine how much land has shifted over time. Both are working on calculations while others watch. Kohaku moves forward to the place Senku indicates. Chelsea starts digging there. Nanami brings a water gun and starts cleaning. Finally, they find statues. They might have found Sai. Sai looks half Indian and half Japanese, and also handsome. Then Senku pours revival fluid on him. Everyone is thinking about what Sai might be like, what he does, what he eats, and suddenly Sai stands up. He becomes human again. Sai thanks them. They communicate with him. Sai looks at Nanami, and as soon as he sees him, he runs away. Kohaku catches him and brings him back. Sai is scared and shouting that he doesn't want to go back to Nanami's college. Nanami then says his full name is Nanami Sai. Now we understand why Nanami knows him so well. They are siblings. Nanami is Sai's younger brother. Everyone is shocked. Nanami had already said Sai's brain is equal to millions of people. Jen asks why he didn't tell them earlier. Nanami says there was no need. What would they do with that information? He just says they need him because he is a genius. Sai says he is not a genius, and Nanami is lying. Chelsea says he is joking and must be a genius. Nanami says he cannot fool him. He reminds him that since childhood, when Sai was 4 years old, he had this gift. We see young Sai doing complex calculations. Sai says those calculations can be done by computers, and anyone can do them with time, but others struggle with calculations. Nanami gets angry and says he can't hide from him. We see young Sai mastering linear algebra, sets, and topology. His parents wanted to raise him as a scientist, but Sai also played games secretly. He was shown programming and running multiple programs. When errors came, he studied more. He even created his own games. One day, his games were removed from his system. A person tells him his study time has been doubled, and he cannot use a computer for games anymore. We see Francois, Sai, and Nanami sitting together. Young Nanami encourages Sai to focus on math so much that no one interferes with him anymore. And then he can play games too. Sai says he liked creating and playing games through programming. Nanami always used Sai's calculations for races or boating. Sai says he is not a mathematician, but a programmer. Back in the present, Sai says he was forced to become a great mathematician, so he ran away to India to code freely. Then the world turned to stone. Sai asks Senku how long it will take to build a computer. Senku says they need semiconductors first, which are very difficult, and it might take 5 to 10 years. Sai gets upset and says, why did they revive him? As there is no calculator in this world, so there is no work for a programmer. Then the scene changes. Nanami says his brother will help them when needed. Others doubt Sai. Senku says they need Sai not only for trajectory calculations, but also to understand Wyman's motive. They need to adapt to changing situations. Nanami says hand calculations might be enough, but they could be risky. Francois leaves food outside Sai's room. Sai sits inside thinking about the 5-10 years needed for a computer. A pen falls, and he starts seeing numbers and codes. He realizes he can still code by writing. When others come, they see the food untouched. They open the door and are shocked. Sai has filled the walls with calculations and codes. His hand speed is incredible. Senku says these are machine codes, the most primitive programming language, directly input into computers. Sai has become the compiler himself. Sai gets embarrassed and says he wrote codes on the wall because there are no computers. Senku says they can't read it as it's not normal programming but direct machine code. Sai says it's the code for Dragon Quest. Nanami says you can create a whole world inside a computer using code. Sai agrees. Senku then says they will use Sai's elite skill and machine code to build something like Nintendo, which can launch a rocket. Basically, they will create a computer in the stone world. At the start of the episode, we see Yuzuria, who has turned into stone. But it seems like she still has thoughts going on in her mind. She thinks that it has been about 8 years since she has been stuck in stone. She can't count seconds like Senku, but she has to stay aware, and she believes that Senku, Taiju, and the others will definitely come to revive them. After that, the intro plays. Then we see Taiju and Ukyo, who are on Dr. Zeno's multi-purpose ship, which is very fast, and they have already reached America. After that, we see Joel with his flash memories and his stone form. When water is poured on him, he comes back to life. Along with him, Kinro is also revived, and everyone is very happy. Yuzuriha hugs Taiju, and Ukyo revives the others as well. Ukyo shows Dr. Zeno's letters to the people connected to him. Luna explains that Senku and Zeno have teamed up to build a spaceship because Wyman has been sending many creepy messages. So everyone has decided to go to the moon with a spaceship and ask Wyman why he turned everyone into stone and stop him before he does it again. Joel asks about Kaseki, and Taiju tells him that Kaseki has gone to India with Senku. Everyone is surprised to hear about India. Ukyo explains that Senku is going to build a computer. The people from the modern world are shocked hearing this. Then we see Sai and Nanami. Sai is surprised that Senku is going to build a computer. Nanami says that Sai needed it the most, so they are making it. Jen asks what is needed to build a computer. Senku explains that computers are like a whole world in themselves, consisting of switches that turn on and off, or represent ones and zeros. He says that anyone who can deal with zeros and ones can build a computer. Senku explains flag theory, where raising a flag means 1 and lowering it means 0. White flags represent questions, and red flags represent answers. Suika's flag will raise if either Chrome or Jen raises a white flag, while Kohaku's flag will raise only if both raise their flags together. This is the foundation of computer science, addition or AND logic. 0 plus 0 is 0, 1 plus 0 is 1, and 1 plus 1 is 2. Everyone slowly starts understanding. Senku explains that circuits can do this with precision. Sai mentions that with XOR and AND gates, they can create a half-adder. Others don't understand much, but Jen says even modern people didn't understand these things easily. Sai questions how they will do all this without electricity and speed, especially since transistors would take 10 years to make. Senku says they will use donuts. Everyone is surprised. He explains that by wrapping copper around them, they can use them effectively. Many things need to be built. Then Chrome explains parametron logic as an electrical swing, like moving forward and backward. The direction determines the output. Chrome says he doesn't fully understand, but will understand if he sees it. Senku starts building it, and Sai watches with hope. Senku successfully creates an adder circuit using 5 parametron units. Then we return to America, where Yuzuriha says Senku will build it first and then teach them. Everyone believes in him since they made diamonds, so a computer is nothing. Sai tests the circuit, and it works perfectly. Kohaku questions if this computer will only do simple additions. Sai thinks about scaling it to handle larger calculations beyond human ability. A roadmap is created for building the computer. They aim to reach calculators and eventually a supercomputer. The transmission is being sent to America via radio, so both sides can replicate the work. They need about 200 more parametron units, which shocks everyone. Senku says they will automate the process and enter the automation age. Senku assigns crafting work to Yuzuriha and suggests reviving more people in Corn City to increase manpower. Everyone agrees. Thousands of donuts are being made, and Sai is working tirelessly. Teamwork is happening on both sides. The adder circuit can only count one number at a time, but combining multiple circuits will allow complex calculations. Sai gets excited as they can now calculate up to 255. He creates a full circuit diagram. Kaseki wonders how they will assemble such complex designs and communicate them via Morse code. Chelsea suggests sending photos. Dr. Zeno proposes building a fax machine. He had already given instructions to Taiju earlier. Senku agrees and starts working on it. Using sulfite, they create fax paper that can burn patterns using electricity. Printing is easy, but scanning is harder because the machine must detect light and dark areas and convert them into signals. Nanami suggests leaving computer construction to Corn City and moving forward. Everyone prepares to leave. Sai thanks everyone and plans to stay back, but Nanami insists he come along. Sai resists but is forced to agree. Later, Sai feels emotional, recalling how Nanami always controlled things. Sai shares that he and Nanami were excluded from family photos because they weren't part of the main lineage. His family trained him strictly in math, while Nanami couldn't be controlled. Nanami always used people for his goals. Jen suggests Nanami might just want Sai by his side like a brother. Sai reflects on this. Nanami appears and challenges Sai to a chess game. Sai agrees, and they play while reminiscing about the past. Nanami says he would get bored without a worthy opponent like Sai. The ship is prepared, and everyone is ready to leave. Nanami waits for Sai, thinking he won't come. But at the last moment, Sai arrives and joins them. So finally, Sai has joined Senku. At the start of the episode, we see how Sai and Senku are working on a diagram which they are going to send to Corn City, where Taiju thinks that Senku is making a smartphone. But Senku says, "Bro, it's been a long time since I even heard that name." There, Sai explains that right now, they are only making the cores used for computers, because doing one step at a time is the right approach, where Luna, Joel, and Yuzuriha are busy making these cores. There, Magma goes crazy, saying, "Why are we doing such small tasks?" Ukyo explains that we need calculations so that we can land properly on the moon. After that, the scene shifts to Corn City, where the Stone World Math Olympic is happening. Ukyo understands that Senku wants to motivate people so that they work better. Yo says he won't get manipulated, but Minami says that the winning team will get 100 million Drago, after which Yo and Magma start working quickly. After that comes the intro, and then people in Corn City are awakened who are strong and capable of working. Senku says now they need to make memory. Chrome wonders what memory is. Senku explains that memory is a storage device, because without it, the machine won't remember any numbers. So they need circuits that can think and circuits that can remember, and combining both will give them a computer with amazing power for computation. Many people are surprised hearing this, as they have no idea what he is talking about. Senku says they don't even have semiconductors yet, which are essential for this, but they will store data on magnets. After that, more facts are coming to Corn City about how to make memory, and work starts accordingly. They have oxidized wire through which current will flow strongly, and magnets are placed over it. When electricity flows through a conductor, it generates a magnetic field, and the direction of current determines which side will be north and which will be south. So magnets can store 0 and 1 like this. Magma says, "This is crazy. Anyone can remember 0 and 1. What's the point of making this?" Ukyo explains that combining these allows them to do much more. Yuzuriha combines everything, explaining that coils are placed around them. Wires are arranged column-wise and row-wise. Chrome understands that current will cross through two wires, and at that intersection, the magnet will become north or south, indicating 0 or 1. Senku confirms this and says, "It's still in the early stage, but it will work." Space shuttles and F-15 fighters use this technology. Senku says they need someone to bring everything together, and Corn City gets this mission. Kaseki analyzes that the magnets are very small, about 0.5 millimeters. Carlos and Max are worried about how much more work they have to do. Luna goes crazy, and Yuzuriha says they need to bind 200,000 donuts, magnets, but the total magnet count is 30 million, shocking everyone. Work starts, and many revived humans join. Minami realizes they need to push more work. Ukyo explains they also need a display to see numbers, called Nixie tubes, where wires glow through gas to show numbers. Joel takes responsibility and makes them easily. After assembling everything, they successfully create a device. Chelsea says they collected a lot of fuel from India, making Senku and Nanami happy. They prepare to leave, and Jen announces the Indian Ocean New World Math Olympic. Contestants are Chrome, Senku, and Sai. Kohaku believes either Sai or Senku will win, but the next contestant is Magma from Corn City, shocking everyone. Zeno explains that Magma was chosen because he is the worst, to demonstrate how powerful the calculator is. Jen gives a tough math question. Chrome, Senku, and Sai start calculating mentally, but Magma uses the calculator, enters numbers, and gets the answer displayed. He gives the answer, and everyone is shocked. Senku confirms it's correct. The computer has finally arrived. Nanami calls it a big moment for the world. Everyone is happy, and they now have a calculator. Though they made millions of magnets, only thousands were used in it. Taiju says the next project will be even better. Yo asks about the 100 million Drago prize. Francois says it will be transferred to their account. Nanami says they will open a bank. Yo and Minami question how, but they manage to open a bank, and Yo receives the money. Senku says Zeno has made the engine, and others have made the computer. Now they will work on the rocket body. Kohaku asks what material the rocket will be made of. Senku says not iron because it's too heavy, but aluminum, which is lightweight. Nanami says it's time to leave India and head to Australia for materials. Senku explains that Australia has large bauxite deposits, from which aluminum is made. They cross the ocean and reach Australia. Chrome is excited to dig, but Chelsea says there's nothing to search for. The entire ground is bauxite. Everyone is shocked. Senku confirms Australia is the largest aluminum producer. They start mining, build a city, and begin work. Nanami mentions a giant mining machine, the largest ever made. Kaseki is excited, and Nanami says he has even driven one before. Senku says they need many people. Jen asks how many. Kohaku worries about food shortage. Suika says they don't have enough revival fluid. Francois says it won't be easy. Senku reminds them of Corn City, which will provide food and raw materials. People from Corn City arrive with supplies, supplies, and Francois cooks delicious corn-based food. Suika asks why Yo came. Yo says he already has money and wants to avoid hard work, so he came as Ukyo's bodyguard. Ukyo meets Senku and gives him the Medusa device with new batteries. Senku activates it by saying 1 meter 3 seconds, and it works. Kaseki explains Joel made the diamond battery after much effort. Senku notes that previous batteries didn't work, but this Medusa is from ground zero with new batteries. Ukyo tries 1 meter 1 second, but it doesn't work. He explains it's the only working Medusa from Treasure Island. Chrome concludes that using Kaseki's batteries in new devices will make them usable all day. Senku says now they can launch the kamikaze moon trip, which is shocking. He explains they don't know when Y-Man will attack again, so they must go to the moon quickly. The mission may not allow return. Nanami confirms that the moon team may never return. Everyone is shocked and sad. Senku says they can petrify themselves using Medusa and wait for rescue, even if it takes years or centuries. This could be a one-way trip. Chrome feels sad. Senku says Medusa will be locked unless needed for emergencies. He also mentions that reviving more people could create problems. Nanami argues Medusa could give immortality. Senku agrees, saying humanity could stop aging if petrified, but they must send the moon team quickly. The Medusa becomes their one-way ticket. Chrome stands with Suika, wondering who will go. Nanami will definitely go, but who else? Suika says they may never return. Chrome thinks either Senku or Zeno will go. Zeno would want Senku to go. Chrome hesitates, but then gets excited, saying they must work together and create a happy ending themselves. They will build a rocket that can return to Earth. He admits he knows nothing about rockets, but believes they can do it together, like Suika made revival fluid. Suika asks how they will do this without telling Senku. Chrome says they will. Senku then announces they will build the anti-Y-Man one-way moon rocket. Chrome is ready with his own plan, and both Senku and Chrome are about to achieve something no one imagined. And the episode ends here. In the last episode, we saw how Suika and Chrome were sad because whoever goes to the moon will not come back. The chances of returning are very bad. So, because of this, Chrome and Suika wanted to make a return rocket here. They were making a rocket so that they could return from there too. And the episode starts from there where Suika and Chrome are at Sai's feet and say that we want to know all the secrets about rockets, and we will also learn the confusing math that comes with it. We have no problem with that. So because of this, Chrome and Suika want to learn calculations. Here Sai also says that, yes, when I used to work at the university, during my work I used to teach math to some people to get away from work stress, so I can do it. But Sai says you guys will have to start from the very beginning. It's not going to be easy. So are you guys really serious? Chrome and Suika say absolutely dead serious, brother, because these people also have to make a rocket for the return trip, and that too before Senku finishes his moon mission, meaning the rocket should be ready before the moon mission actually goes to the moon so that these people can have a happy ending. That's what Chrome believes. After that, we see that Yo is acting completely crazy. He says that first of all, I left the city so that I wouldn't have to do computer work, and now he has to make a rocket from a rock. Tell me, where Jen also says that Yar seriously confirm this for me, that the rocket we are going to make, will it really be made from this red rock in our hands? Then Senku says we won't directly use it. We will definitely use it though. So here, Senku shows the entire roadmap to everyone which is related to the raw material for the rocket body, where these people will use these bauxite rocks with sodium hydroxide through which they will make aluminum. Then they will process that aluminum further and make an aluminum that is durable from which they are going to make the rocket. Now hearing this, Kaseki gets completely fired up, brother. He tears his clothes again because this thing is so complicated and challenging that he starts enjoying it, on which Kohaku and Gen also react because they have a lot of work to do, where Gen even asks what is written at this place. An absolute crap ton of stupid powerful electricity. What does this mean? Here Senku says there is a reason for this, brother. Aluminum is not called canned electricity for nothing. A huge amount of electricity is needed to make this thing. For example, the aluminum that was used in the Apollo rocket, the electric bill for that alone was around 3 billion. Now hearing this, Ukyo and Gen get scared badly, in which Nanami says, okay, then the only way for us to get an unlimited supply of electricity will be our hydroelectric dams. So because of this, they are going to take all these red stones with them to a place where hydropower can be generated perfectly, and that place is going to be a country, where Senku explains, yes, that is a place where there are mountains, valleys, rivers all around, and there we also have our material and headquarters. Did you guys understand from this where they are going? Everyone else is thinking what place it could be, and it turns out it's Japan Yar. It's in Japan itself. All the towns of the whole world are now going to connect together inside Japan. That's what Nanami believes. So these people will bring all the materials to their hometown so that they can build everything properly. Senku also says that the moon rocket will now be built in Japan itself. So these people leave from there too, where Senku explains how they traveled the whole world to gather materials for the rocket. Where Senku says the next and final stop in this entire world tour before reaching Japan is Indonesia. Here, Chelsea immediately starts extracting rubber from the trees because these trees are everywhere there. They had gathered some in South America too, but the real rubber is found around here, Yar. This is the true home of rubber, Indonesia, and everyone is gathering rubber anyway. So here they practically build an entire rubber city, brother, meaning a rubber-founded city. After that, they start recalling their journey, how they left Japan behind, crossed the Pacific, reached America where they faced many challenges. They built Corn City and brought people back to life again. They built Super Alloy City, City of Fluoride, City of Math, Fuel, City of Aluminum, and finally City of Rubber. Kohaku is narrating all this and crying, meaning Kohaku doesn't really cry. Tears just fill her eyes. And finally, she becomes happy, because after this, they are going to Japan to meet everyone, because the people there are still turned to stone. Ukyo also says, yes, all humanity is finally going to come together again, because perhaps for the first time in human history this is happening. Chrome and Suika have a completely different plan. They are making a rocket to return to, on which Senku says, yes, we are also going to turn everyone back from stone into humans. To build the rocket in Japan, we are going to need every single person to work on it. Where Kohaku says, maybe she can tell Ruri how many hardships they faced. Here, Nanami says we can take 1 or 2 gifts with us. Where Senku says, yes, there can definitely be a plan for that too. Where Chelsea says, wow, you are very kind, Yar. You do so much for your friends. Jen says, brother, you clearly don't know Senku. Looks like he's thinking of something else. Where Senku starts talking about food and says we have tried the cuisine of every place. And anyway, food satisfies people's souls, especially those who have just awakened after so many years. Then they remember that Japan's soul food, the food connected to Japan itself, if people get that right after waking up, then it would be amazing for them. So these people reach a place while running which has wheat and wild rice there. People realize what an amazing plan Senku had. It wasn't luck, because Senku planned the journey in such a way that they would arrive at this place in April so they could collect rice, because after the rains, it would be perfectly ready for them. So here they cut the grain, meaning the wheat, then convert it into rice and make sacks of it. And we all know how much rice is eaten in Japan, guys. So they collected a decent amount of rice. Not too much, but a decent amount. On the other side, we see how Chrome and Suika are learning math with Sai, learning many mathematical things while Sai teaches them about triangles. Senku's plan is that since rice is already growing here, people should be awakened and put to work in rice production. So people are also being revived here. Chrome and Suika are doing landmarking using the math they learned from Sai. Based on that, Kohaku's team is digging there. Kaseki is busy with his own work trying to build something that can make farming easier. Water usage has also started. Then Kaseki makes a windmill and water drawer too, and altogether they have literally made a farming machine, brother, through which they are going to grow crops again. Then Jen says, Yar, but that's not how it works. We can only grow one crop once a year. Then Senku says, winter never comes in this place, so there's nothing to worry about. Here Kohaku says, how is that possible? There's no winter here? Nanami says we can use the power of science to plant and harvest 3 times in a single year, where they need fertile soil and fertilizer so that after every harvest, the land can be restored properly. Where Ukyo and Yo are also working on making fertilizer using the pink rock they found in America. Here they are going to use phosphite rock, nitric acid, and plant ash. Through this, they are going to make a powerful fertilizer for the land. And before they even realize it, the crops have grown properly. And those who had the tractor were plowing with it too, brother. So now they have collected a good amount of rice, which was earlier very little. Where Senku also explains that the quantity of amylopectin in this rice is slightly higher. So even though it's indica rice, it still feels very similar to Japanese rice. After that, these people are eating rice and feeling happy. When Senku takes a bite of the rice, he remembers his city and his father. Old memories return, and everyone has tears in their eyes. Ukyo even says that I never thought I would be able to eat rice balls again so soon. And everyone is gathered there while Nanami says, what better gift could there be for someone than this? Now these people have left for Japan. Then Senku explains that the people here were on a special mission where they had already turned to stone, so they couldn't progress that much, but still, they did their work. Actually, these people have not reached Japan yet. They had reached the island where Senku's father and the others had stayed. Yo also says, oh, so those people also had work assigned to them. That means they too were working hard before turning to stone. So it's not just me who has to work. Because Yo used to be jealous thinking those people must have so much free time while we have to work here. But now the reality is that everyone was working. After that, they finally see Japan's Mount Fuji. Finally, 10 whole years have passed, and they are returning after completing a round trip of the entire world. Chrome and Kohaku are running excitedly. They see many stone statues behind which people are lying turned to stone and are now being revived. Kohaku's sister wakes up, where Jen is surprised by how strong Ruri's arm strength is. Chrome says, hey, they're sisters, brother. Both have the same gorilla-level strength, on which Kohaku beats Chrome up for saying that. Then Ruri runs towards Chrome, where Chrome says, I also got petrified. So now our ages have become the same. Where Chelsea says, wait, what is happening? Oh, I get it. These are lovebirds, right? Where Jen tells her to shut up. Where Chrome says, no, it's not like that. There is no one in the village who doesn't love Ruri. At which point the whole mood gets ruined. Chrome is still just a kid. Where Chrome also mentions how Ruri and her her team built these stone walls here so that the others wouldn't get blown away by strong winds or get hurt, so they could stay in one place. Senku also mentions that yes, if huge trees or stones had crashed into this wall and broken it, then it could have caused a huge problem. Ruri says, "No brother, I don't recognize this wall." Then Senku says, "How?" And everyone gets surprised. Then Suika turns around and sees that her pigs and dogs are there crying after seeing her, the same animals Suika used to play with. So these animals are very happy seeing Suika, which means the Medusa beam didn't affect these animals, and they did not turn to stone. So it must be these animals who did this work, where the dog even demonstrates how he did it, and the pig does too. Suika becomes very happy that these dogs and animals worked together to build the stone wall to protect everyone, because there were many other animals too who helped in this. After all, these two now have families of their own too. So Suika says goodbye to them too, so that they can live their own lives at least. Where the village chief says, "Hey, you revived too many people. How will we feed everyone?" Then Nanami says, "Hey, I brought a gift for you." And here, Francois starts cooking food while even the animals are being fed. And Francois is going to make a dish using rice that will also give people strength. So maybe she is making sushi here and not rice balls, brother. Francois is working seriously, and she prepares sushi. Everyone's mouths are watering. Everyone had eaten so much that their stomachs were full. Here Yo asks, "Is this island called Treasure Island because the food here is so good?" Then Ruri explains that Senku had also given them a mission which they were working on. So these people move ahead and see that they had already built a dam there. Not a complete dam, but almost, because they need a huge amount of electricity to make the rocket body, where they will use concrete to stop the water, and through its flow, they will generate and store electricity. Jin even says, maybe the animals got the idea of making walls from this dam. Here inside these rocks and concrete, they have used bamboo instead of iron rods, because the dam needs strength to handle the water pressure. So bamboo has been used in many parts. So here, they have been gathering different things from different parts of the world and making different inventions. And their treasure island is very close to the equator. So launching the rocket from there is going to be extremely powerful too. Where on Treasure Island, we also see that the special thing they were building was the rocket stand. Finally, Nanami says our mysterious Y-Man enemy is finished now. Soon, we are all going to space for the sake of humanity. And with this, the episode ends. Starts with everyone successfully completing the dam, and not just any dam, a fully working hydroelectric dam. Seeing this, Chrome gets extremely surprised because now they are finally generating electricity on a massive scale. Chrome says that earlier they had to work incredibly hard just to generate a tiny amount of electricity, but now they'll be able to produce huge amounts of power so easily. Senku thanks Ruri's team for working tirelessly for so long to make this project successful. Kohaku also says that they'll definitely need more manpower because their mission is way too huge. Senku replies that this is exactly why they are planning to revive even more people from stone. After that, we see many people getting revived from stone and becoming human again, while the members of the Kingdom of Science welcome them. Jen starts explaining Senku's story to all the newly revived people, how a mysterious device turned all of humanity into stone, and how there's a Y-Man on the moon. That's why they are building a rocket so they can eventually travel there. To do that, they need to gather materials and continue building advanced technology. While Jen is telling the story, Chelsea and Nanami are standing nearby. Nanami says that if they want to lead such a huge number of people toward one goal, then they'll have to connect with them emotionally. That's why Jen is telling everyone this story. Nanami then says they need something called entertainment media, a medium that can unite people together. Even in today's world, entertainment is what keeps everyone connected. The others ask what entertainment media actually means. Nanami explains that the more people there are, the harder it becomes to maintain order, and every person needs motivation to keep moving forward. That's why they'll use entertainment media so everyone thinks in the same direction and works toward the same goal. Sai says he understands exactly what his brother means. He explains that people can't move forward without happiness or enjoyment in their hearts. He used to play video games all the time before humanity was petrified. Nanami says he's talking about something even bigger than that. Whoever controls the media can control society itself. In the old days, there were TV stations, then streaming platforms, and later search engines. Ukyo jokes that Sai and Nanami don't even look like brothers. After that, Sai and Senku work together and create a television. Senku explains that they had already made cathode ray tubes while building radar, and if you move vertical beams correctly, images can be formed on a screen. Francois also mentions that the world's first TV was created in Japan. Everyone is shocked that they've recreated television from scratch. Yo then asks how many channels the TV can show, leaving Senku speechless for a second. Senku says that even though they built a TV, there are no TV stations left in this world. The moment is pretty funny. Senku says they won't be showing TV shows on it, but Nanami hints that something from America is arriving soon, pointing towards Sai. Then we see a massive shipment labeled Cell 9000. Taiju wonders if they've built something huge. Inside are tons of wires and thousands of tiny magnetic donut-shaped parts. Senku explains that this is the CPU, the brain of the machine. He starts describing its specs: 16-bit processing, running at 60 Hz kilohertz, 129 memory units, 512 kilobits of memory, and 60 KB RAM equivalent storage. Most people get completely confused hearing all these technical details, but Sai becomes extremely excited because he says these specs are comparable to a Nintendo console. They've finally built a real computer. Now, they already have a TV and a CPU. Senku explains that coding will still be difficult because they'll be using punch cards, meaning the machine can only read holes punched into paper. Jen asks if those punched paper sheets will somehow create video games. Yo can't believe these people are already thinking about games in the middle of such an important mission. Sai immediately starts punching holes into paper and basically begins coding. Then they connect everything to electricity generated by the dam, and finally the TV screen turns on. On the screen, Sai is playing Tetris. Yo gets super excited seeing this. Sai says the game he just made is incredibly simple and can be created with only a single line of code. He claims he can create games like this in no time. Nanami praises him, and soon Sai creates several more games. The audience watching them becomes really happy and entertained. Later, Sai and Nanami are shown playing chess, both on a physical board and digitally on the screen. Nanami seems to lose because Sai has created a chess AI capable of calculating moves far ahead. Sai explains that before humanity was petrified, there was once a legendary chess champion named Kasparov who fought against the AI Deep Blue in a historic human versus computer match. Sai explains that during the match, around the 60th move, the AI attacked the queen, but it turned out to be a trap prepared by humanity's greatest chess player. Deep Blue then went into deep calculation mode and made a strange pawn move that initially looked terrible. However, it was actually a brilliant move no human could have predicted. Sai says that was the moment science gave humanity something completely beyond imagination. Nanami becomes fascinated by this and says he wants to understand things beyond human limits too. Science itself has now become Nanami's greatest greed and ambition. Nanami also points out that Y-Man must have created the petrification device using science as well. After that, we see Senku and the others experimenting with Medusa, the petrification device. They're trying to find ways to make it usable for longer periods. Once the experiment ends, they lock Medusa away safely again. Yo says they probably don't need to worry because nobody can accidentally activate Medusa by shouting commands from far away. Jen explains that the device shouldn't activate from such a distance anyway. But suddenly, when they approach the chamber containing Medusa, they hear strange clicking noises coming from inside. Everyone gets nervous and moves closer to inspect it. Before they can react, Medusa suddenly emits light on its own. Jen and Yo instantly begin turning back into stone. Everyone panics. Kohaku and Chrome also notice the situation from afar. Back near Senku and Nanami, they quickly calculate that the petrification beam's radius is increasing with its speed, but according to their estimates, it should only reach about 20 meters. They move back just in time and survive, while only Jen and Yo get petrified again. Fortunately, they're restored soon afterward. When they inspect Medusa, they discover that its protective case is broken. At first, Yo becomes suspicious, but Jen insists they didn't touch anything. He says they only heard a strange sound, then glass breaking, and suddenly Medusa activated. Jen theorizes that someone may have activated the device long ago using a timer. Everyone becomes shocked and starts asking questions about who could have done this and why. Chrome points out another huge problem. Even if they reach the moon, how will they know where Y-Man is hiding? For safety reasons, they remove Medusa's battery so it can't activate again. Jen then asks Ukyo if he tampered with Medusa while transporting it from America, but Ukyo denies it. Chelsea suggests that someone might have set a timer months ago. The terrifying part is that everyone here is supposed to be allies, so who could possibly be responsible? After thinking deeply about everything, Senku travels to another region of Japan and collects selenium along with several other chemicals. Using them, he creates a special type of glass capable of converting light into electrical signals. Finally, Senku creates a camera. The camera is meant to monitor Medusa constantly, but Nanami already has another brilliant idea in mind. He takes the camera to America and organizes the first baseball match between Japan and the USA, broadcasting it live. People become incredibly excited, and society slowly starts uniting through media and entertainment. Soon, many channels begin appearing, and Kohaku's village even gets its own studio. Jen jokes that Nanami has officially become a media tycoon. Then, Senku reveals the real purpose of the camera technology. He explains that currently they can't properly observe the moon's surface from Earth, no matter how powerful a telescope they they build. But if they observe it from space, they can. That's why Senku now plans to build a satellite. The satellite will capture images of the moon's surface from space and send the signals back to Earth, allowing them to locate Y-Man's exact position on the moon. Only then will they be able to land at the correct location and finally confront Y-Man. And with Senku announcing the creation of a satellite, the episode comes to an end. At the start of the episode, Senku is looking at the sky through telescope, but suddenly Nanami gets excited and says that we would launch a telescope into space and find Y-Man on the moon. Then Senku said yes, but we will launch an artificial satellite that would be directed towards the moon. Everyone is surprised about the satellite, and Kaseki asks, that would it fly like a plane? But Chrome asks that, will it not stop flying until we find Y-Man and it will run out off fuel right away? But Senku explains that satellites don't fly, but they just revolve around the planet. Then Chrome and Suika got surprised, but Chelsea says excitedly that satellites doesn't need fuel. But Ukyo says that they still need electricity to send images of the moon back to us and adjust its course. So Suika says, why not just put batteries in it then? But Chrome replies that batteries will run out quickly too. So Senku explains that we need an endless energy that won't run out in the space, and that is the sun that give us infinite energy. While Kuhaku and Suika are confused about the sun's energy, but Jen says excitedly that they need solar panels. After that, Senku is explaining that they need to stick tiny films together and convert the power of the sun into electricity. So they will need seawater, fluorite, sulfuric acid, and magnesium to form magnesium fluoride to make a glass plate and stick it to gold plate to selenium plate and then stick selenium plate to copper plate. But with enough size, it will work out. But Chrome asks how will it work in rainy or cloudy weather? So Senku explains that there is no weather in the space. After that, Senku team arrives at the island with a huge rocket, and after that, Zeno also arrives there with a rocket engine. Senku says to Zeno that I'm amazed that you managed to build an engine in just 3 years. Then they starts to launch the rockets, but fails as the rockets get straight into the sea and everyone is shocked. After that, Dr. Zeno and Senku again solves all the problem in the rocket, but the rocket blasts this time and they get utterly shocked the second time. The third time, Senku and Zeno draws all the parts on the pages and launch the rocket again, but still they failed. After that, they try many more times, but they still failed. And Yost seems so hopeless as they have been working on this for such a long time, but he sees Senku and Zeno still trying to fix things. Suika and Chrome are so sad that Senku and Zeno tried so hard, but they still can't accomplish that thing. After that, in the morning, they try to launch the rocket, and Senku and Zeno are really desperate, but eventually they succeeded, and everyone screams through the air. And Chrome and Suika, they are worried about making the rocket as Sei calculated, and said to them that their rocket will be 5 times bigger than these ones. After that, everyone is watching Earth through satellite on TV, and Senku says that they will need Nanami and Chelsea to revive all the 7 billion people on the Earth. After that, ships came from India and Spain, and they launched more rockets into the space with new things. So this time, Kuhaku is watching the moon through TV and is in good spirits to find Y-Man, while Chrome and Suika says that now they have a lot of time, so they are working hard to finish their rocket project, but they are worried that they will need a decade to make a 5 times bigger rocket. Kuhaku finally finds something, and she tells Senku and Zeno that she find a shape right there, and Zeno says that as a NASA scientist, he can confirm that they have found him, and Senku is really excited, while Suika is crying there that now they have found why Man and Senku will go towards the moon by one-way rocket, and they still didn't make a new rocket. After that, Kaseki says that the time's come for us to build a manned rocket, and Francois says that now they will need global cooperation using their new globe. But Nanami says that they are finally bringing the might of all humanity together on an astronomical scale. But by hearing Nanami, Chrome got an idea. After that, the other day, the grand science meeting got held, and Chrome arranged a thing called Rookie Scientist versus Super Scientist. And Chrome shouts that they would not make a one-way suicide rocket, but they will make a round-trip rocket. But Senku says to them that, as you know, that round-trip rocket will have to be so huge that they will have to redo all their launch tests. And Zeno says about 5 times the risk and time, and it will take at least several decades. Then Suika says that's why Chrome has been thinking so hard from the past year, so we can get to the moon and back with a small rocket. Then Chrome show them the plan that they have built so excitedly. Then Jen says that it's a way too much, and Kuhaku says that I don't know how this space thing is, but I think it's one of the Chrome's insane idea. And Jen asks Senku and Zeno, is that right? But Senku says that the space station Byakuya's team was on was also launched in parts and assembled in space too. Then Chrome said you knew it but slipped, and Suika cried that it wasn't a hack then. Then Senku explained it's not about that we knew or not, but he and Zeno just never considered that plan. So Zeno Zeno says that launching a spaceship is an idea that existed at NASA, but difficulty was designing it and would be in a million of parts. So Nanami says that if all humanity comes together and designs those several million parts together, then we could have it. Is that right? But everyone are still so confused. So Sei introduces a voting machine in which people can vote for a one-way rocket or two-way rocket by clicking the buttons. Senku says, it better be not a playful thing, so Nanami says, don't worry, Senku. Just as you never lie in science, Sai would never lie in his code. After the voting, the two-way rocket won all the votes. But after that, when Sai checked all of their votes, so he came to know that Senku and Zeno also voted for the two-ways rocket. Then Senku says that there is only one way we could pull off getting all the humanity to design the two-way rocket, is that we would have to build the internet. The beginning of the episode, we see that building a rocket that can go to the moon will need millions of different parts. Senku says they will use the internet to connect engineers from all around the world so everyone can work together on this project. Taiju gets really excited and says, you mean the same internet that lets us use smartphones? We are finally gonna make that thing? Senku replies, yeah, this will be our final and biggest project for the moon mission. But then a question comes up. What is the internet made from? Senku says, Yukamiya tea. Jen gets confused and says, isn't that something healthy for the body? Taiju quickly says, so if we all drink this tea together, we will get the power to create the internet? Senku replies, that's not how it works. After that, Senku smiles and says, all right then, let's begin. Then the scene changes, and we are shown Enoshima in Hiroshima, where Taiju and Kohaku are collecting tea leaves. Finally, they successfully get the Yukamiya tea. Nanami is enjoying the moment while Chelsea explains that this tree is special because insects and pests do not attack it. In fact, this tree has existed since the dinosaur age. Senku explains that the whole tree is full of a sticky material. Chrome notices it too and says it looks like spider silk. Then Senku reveals the real reason they came here. He says, we are not here for the tea. We came for this sticky material. This sticky material is called Yukamiya ulmoides elastomer, which is a type of rubber. But unlike normal rubber, it is also strong and tough. That is why it is used in golf balls and even in 3D printer filaments. Taiju says, I thought we came here to build the internet. Jen asks, how are we going to use this sticky material to make the internet? Senku explains that this material is resistant to water and electricity. Water and electricity do not affect it at all. Chrome suddenly understands the idea. He realizes that by using this material, they can make underwater cables that can connect the entire world. Chrome comes up with this idea on his own, which shows how smart he really is. After that, we are shown the structure of the internet cables. Inside the cables, there will be copper wire, then nickel-steel alloy, then steel, and finally Yukamiya rubber to keep electricity inside and water outside. Using this setup, they start laying underwater cables. Nanami explains that they cannot directly connect Japan and America, so they will use Hawaii as a middle stop. But honestly, Nanami mostly wants to enjoy Hawaii because he even gets Hawaiian coffee there. Jen says, you just wanted an excuse to come to Hawaii, didn't you? Finally, the work begins, and they start laying the cables while the whole world slowly becomes connected through this network. Everything moves smoothly, and they go from no signal screens to proper signal screens. And just like that, they finally create the internet. Yuzuriha says that even though everyone is far away, they can now see and talk to each other. Jinro gets really happy because now he does not have to use Morse code anymore. Kohaku also starts understanding how useful science really is. Then the meeting continues, and Dr. Zeno introduces himself as a former NASA scientist. Senku also introduces himself, but only says his name. Dr. Zeno explains that they will divide the spaceship designs into millions of parts. Kaseki asks, but how will that work? Chrome explains that normally they would draw everything on paper, and whenever they discovered something new, they would have to share and discuss it with the whole world. Suika says, that sounds like too much work. Senku replies, why do you think we laid all those internet cables? We are going to do the design work online. Everyone becomes shocked after hearing this. Even Sai is surprised because with their current computers, this should be impossible. Then Senku reveals that they will use e-paper technology. He explains that they will use 2 electron beams instead of one strong beam and one weak beam. Kaseki immediately starts working on it. Senku also creates an electronic pen. Whenever someone touches the screen with this pen, the light at that spot glows, allowing them to draw directly on the screen. Then they add a metal sheet so they can also read what is shown on the screen. After that, they are able to directly send whatever appears on the screen. Senku explains that early commercial CAD systems worked in a similar way. Everyone gets shocked again. Dr. Zeno says that engineers will now be able to share their screens with each other in real time. We can actually see this happening, and finally the spaceship starts taking shape. Then we see another scene where everyone gathers around a strange object and asks what it is. Kaseki explains that this is the seat where the astronauts will sit while traveling to the moon. Chrome lies down in it but feels uncomfortable because it is very tight. He realizes that he will have to get used to it if he wants to use it. Kohaku also becomes motivated because they are finally preparing to go to the moon. Chrome even says that they will not only go there, but also safely return. Senku agrees and says that the time has finally come to face the final boss. Why man? Now they need to choose the moon landing team and begin astronaut training. Nanami immediately says, I'm definitely going. Then it is revealed that the rocket only has 3 seats. Dr. Zeno says they can only send 3 people, Suika asks. But who will those 3 be? Yo casually says, you can send me if you want. Chelsea tells Zeno that since he is the expert, he should decide. Zeno explains that the people inside the ship can stay petrified during most of the journey and only be revived when needed. This will also become part of the support system design. Senku, Jen, and Ukyo discuss how this will become one of the new scientific advantages of this world. But then Zeno points out the biggest problem. They still have no idea what Y-Man really is. Can their science even compete with Y-Man? They know very little about him or the petrification beam. Even one small mistake could decide the fate of humanity. That is why Zeno says they will not choose old world astronauts. Instead, they will train people from among themselves, people who already know about Y-Man and the petrification beam. The 3 crew members will include 1 pilot, 1 scientist, and 1 fighter. Nanami immediately claims the pilot seat, and even Chrome agrees that nobody can argue with him for that role. Then Dr. Zeno asks who the scientist will be. Since Zeno himself will stay on Earth to control the tower, the choices become limited. Chrome says they already know who the scientist will be, obviously Senku. But Zeno explains that the crew also needs strength and stamina because most of the trip will be spent while petrified. Senku clearly lacks physical strength, so they start training him. Nikki literally throws him into water training so he can improve his stamina through swimming. At the same time, everyone talks about how stable the internet has become. Nikki was talking to them online just moments ago, and now she is standing face to face with them. Efforts from all around the world are being shown. Yuzuriha also returns to meet Taiju, while Ginro tries to meet Kohaku but gets beaten up by her instead. Then Dr. Zeno takes everyone to another place. Jen asks why they were brought there, and Zeno explains that they are now choosing the fighter for the crew. Many people compete for the role. The villagers perform very well, and the modern world people also do a good job. Everyone is forced to swim while wearing heavy clothes because they will eventually have to operate in heavy spacesuits, so they need stamina training under heavy conditions. Senku also remembers how his father once trained astronauts like this. After that comes the focus test. The contestants must solve many black and white jigsaw puzzles. Kohaku struggles badly, while Senku solves them very quickly. Tsukasa also performs amazingly well. Later, we learn that Sai created these crazy mazes using a maze generator program. Then balance training begins, and Tsukasa dominates once again. Even Magma admits that Tsukasa is a top candidate for the fighter position. Nanami, Senku, and Zeno discuss how Tsukasa should probably be selected because they need someone who can actually fight Y-Man if something goes wrong. However, Kohaku is also keeping up with Tsukasa in combat ability, and Tsukasa notices this himself. One night, Kohaku meets Tsukasa on a mountain, and Tsukasa suddenly attacks her. Kohaku dodges everything, and after their short fight, Tsukasa apologizes because he was only testing her instincts. Tsukasa remembers their first meeting and says that Kohaku has improved a lot. Kohaku says she is still nowhere near his level, but Tsukasa replies that she actually is. He says that science gives equality, and with scientific weapons, Kohaku can become even stronger. Later, Tsukasa meets Senku and recommends Kohaku as the fighter for the moon mission because choosing her would save more weight on the rocket. Dr. Zeno agrees. Finally, the 3 crew members are officially announced: Ryusui Nanami, Senku Ishigami, and Kohaku. Ryusui gets extremely excited, and everyone else is also amazed. They even create a rocket model to better understand the ship. We also see a flashback showing how Ryusui used to annoy Sai as a child by asking him to calculate ship models that he kept inside bottles. Then we learn that they have also created a spaceship navigation simulator program. Yo tries to use it but completely fails. Ryusui then steps in and handles it perfectly. Everyone already knows that nobody could possibly be a better pilot than Ryusui. Sai is also shown playing a shooting game on his screen. Kohaku asks if they will really do something like that in space. Sai says it is just for fun, but Senku casually says, well, we might actually end up in a gunfight. Everyone becomes shocked after hearing that. Dr. Zeno explains that nobody knows what kind of battle is waiting for them on the moon. Y-Man could attack them with powerful weapons, especially Medusa devices. Senku says they would be foolish if they went there without a proper plan. That is why they need 2 anti-Medusa items. During an online meeting, Joel reveals the first item, the Resurrection Watch. Inside the watch is a dose of revival fluid. If someone gets hit by the petrification beam, a timer will activate, and after a short delay, the revival fluid will automatically turn the petrified person back to normal. Everyone says this is an amazing idea because if they all wear these watches, they can survive Medusa attacks. But Dr. Zeno points out a problem. The enemy may have multiple Medusa devices. Kohaku realizes that if they are attacked again and again, the watch would only work once because it only contains a single dose. Tsukasa then joins the conversation and says that if Y-Man attacks in multiple waves, there will still be a delay between each wave. That delay will give them a chance to counterattack right after surviving the first blast. Senku then reveals their second and final anti-Medusa weapon, a gun specially designed to destroy Medusas. Jen even tests a net grenade gun. Along with that, they will also carry pistols. Everyone begins practicing their aim, and honestly, their shooting skills look pretty good. Ryusui is especially excited about going to space. Later that evening, while everyone else is resting, Ryusui secretly leaves and heads toward a waterfall. There, he reveals that there is one man who is an even better pilot than him, someone who might be humanity's greatest hope. Ryusui walks toward a secret restricted area where the strongest man sleeps in stone form. As he gets closer, we finally see him, Stanley Snyder. And honestly, who could forget this man? Stanley is an incredible pilot and shooter. And with that, the episode comes to an end. The episode begins with Ryusui Nanami sitting alone and thinking about the upcoming moon mission. As he looks at the spacecraft, one question keeps bothering him. Who is truly the best pilot for this historic journey? After giving it serious thought, Ryusui reaches an unexpected conclusion. As skilled as he is, the best person for the job isn't him at all. It's Stanley Snyder. A little later, Senku walks by, and Ryusui decides to bring up the topic in a rather unusual way. He starts telling a fairy tale about a knight who falls in love with a princess. The knight dreams of a future with her, but another man, a prince from a neighboring kingdom, is far better suited to marry her because doing so would bring peace and prosperity to the entire land. Confused, Senku listens as Ryusui finally asks what a man of science would do in that situation. At first, Senku has no idea what he's talking about, but one glance at the spacecraft is enough for him to understand. Ryusui isn't talking about a princess. He's talking about the moon mission. Without hesitation, Senku gives his answer. Science is all about choosing the most effective solution. If someone else is better suited for the job, then they should be chosen. 10 billion%. He even says that if stepping aside would produce the best result, he would do it without a second thought. Senku then tells Ryusui to stop hiding behind fairy tales and just ask directly. After discussing the matter with everyone, the Kingdom of Science approaches Zeno and informs him of their decision. Although surprised, calmly accepts it and admits that he is probably the most qualified candidate. He even jokes that if he returns from the mission, he might try conquering the world again. Ryusui immediately shuts that idea down, pointing out that the world has become far too peaceful for that now. As the discussion continues, everyone eventually reaches the same conclusion. Stanley's skills, experience, and unbelievable accuracy make him the perfect choice for the mission. Someone then asks Ukyo whether he's disappointed about not being selected. Ukyo honestly admits that he wanted to go more than anything. However, he also understands that Stanley possesses exactly the abilities needed for such an important mission. Even though it hurts, he accepts the decision. With that, Stanley officially becomes part of the moon mission crew. Not long after, Stanley and Dr. Zeno begin discussing the details of the mission. Stanley immediately asks what his role will be, and Senku is thrilled to see him getting straight to work. To test him, they present a difficult long-range targeting scenario. Stanley instantly begins calculating. He explains how he would account for distance and every possible variable with such precision that even Senku is impressed. Then someone jokingly asks if he could cut Zeno. Without missing a beat, Stanley slices a card that Zeno is holding and calmly replies, "Yes, I can." Meanwhile, Ukyo continues practicing his aim but keeps missing every target. Francois tries to comfort him, yet Ukyo can't hide how badly he wanted to participate in the mission. As the emotional moment unfolds, something incredible happens. Every target is suddenly hit perfectly. At first, everyone assumes Ryusui made the shots. However, Ryusui reveals that he wasn't responsible. The camera then cuts to Stanley standing far away in the distance. It turns out that he effortlessly hit every target from an unbelievable range, once again proving exactly why he was chosen. As preparations for the launch continue, Senku shifts his attention toward another challenge, recreating the technology needed for modern civilization. When Suika asks what he's building, Senku explains that they're finally working on spacesuits for the astronauts. Chrome then asks about materials like vinyl, prompting Senku to explain something interesting. Because the people of Ishigami Village grew up without modern civilization, there are countless inventions they've never experienced. In their race toward the moon mission, they skipped over many of the technologies humanity normally developed along the way. Before launch, Senku decides to bring some of those inventions back. The moment everyone hears this, requests start pouring in. Some want cameras, others ask for washing machines, someone even requests a maid robot. Ryusui keeps adding more ideas, including microwaves and other modern conveniences. Senku insists he isn't going to build everything, yet the very first thing he reveals is a microwave oven. He explains that microwaves use radio waves to excite water molecules inside food, creating heat. To prove it, he heats a bowl of cold rice without using fire at all. Chrome is completely amazed. Moments ago the rice was cold and now it's steaming hot. Senku then explains the science behind radio waves and water molecules, while Ryusui jokingly calls it nuclear food, sending everyone into laughter. Little by little, the Kingdom of Science begins rebuilding the comforts of the 21st century. Soon, Senku successfully creates a washing machine and a camera as well, making everyone even more excited. But then he announces that there is one invention he personally wants to build, a smartphone. The entire group is shocked. They can hardly believe something that advanced is even possible. Senku confidently explains liquid crystals, polarized light, LCD technology, and touchscreen mechanics. Using chemistry, electronics, and optics, he slowly recreates one of humanity's greatest inventions. Eventually, the device is completed. Everyone celebrates until they see its size. Instead of fitting in a pocket, it's absolutely massive. Laughing, Senku points out that it's basically a giant computer, while someone jokingly congratulates him for inventing a 40-kilogram smartphone. smartphone. At first, everyone thinks he built it simply for fun, but the truth is much more important. The machine will serve as a display and control system for the spacecraft itself. And then comes the moment they've all been waiting for. After years of scientific breakthroughs, inventions, and non-stop hard work, the Kingdom of Science achieves its greatest accomplishment yet. The rocket is finally complete. From rebuilding civilization one invention at a time to creating a spacecraft capable of reaching the moon, the impossible has become reality. Now launch day has arrived. As everyone gathers around the completed rocket, they can't help but reflect on how far they've come. What began with a single scientist awakening in a petrified world has led humanity back to the edge of space. The atmosphere is filled with excitement, pride, anticipation, and nervous energy. Every challenge they faced and every sacrifice they made has led to this very moment. The crew prepares for departure. The countdown is about to begin, and at long last, humanity's journey to the moon is ready to launch. Before the launch, one final concern is raised. What if the rocket explodes like before? Jen suggests that if something goes wrong, the petrification device could serve as a last resort survival option for restoring humanity later. However, Senku rejects this idea. He explains that if the rocket were to explode at such a high altitude, the fragments would scatter too widely across the planet. Recovering them would be practically impossible. For a brief moment, Senku acknowledges the seriousness of the situation. This is the most dangerous step of the entire project. Still, he does not stop. He says they must move forward no matter the risk, because this is the only path to the moon. Final preparations continue. The petrification device is installed inside the rocket as an emergency backup system and carefully secured. Every system is checked one last time. The entire world watches through a live broadcast as humanity prepares for its most important launch ever. Dr. Zeno takes control of the launch operations, monitoring every system with precision. The Kingdom of Science stands ready, fully focused. The countdown begins. At 0, the launch sequence activates. The rocket engines ignite with a massive roar, shaking the ground as flames and smoke erupt beneath it. Slowly, the rocket begins to lift off. The ascent is tense at first, appearing slightly unstable, causing everyone to hold their breath. Then it stabilizes. The rocket rises steadily into the sky, gaining speed and altitude. One by one, the members of the Kingdom of Science watch in silence as humanity's greatest achievement leaves the ground. The rocket continues climbing beyond the atmosphere, and the moon mission officially begins. At the very beginning of the episode, we hear a voiceover explaining how science has always pushed humanity forward. People wanted to achieve more, so they kept inventing new things, and every new discovery carried civilization one step further into the future. As long as that cycle continues, science keeps advancing, and through science, humanity can overcome even its greatest challenges. We soon learn that this voiceover belongs to Senku's father, Byakuya. He always believed that one day Senku would bring humanity back to space, a future where people could once again travel among the stars and enjoy something as simple as a bowl of ramen beyond Earth. And now, that dream has finally become reality. Senku has reached space. After taking off his spacesuit and changing into normal clothes, Senku realizes that he is currently the only one awake aboard the spacecraft. Since Stanley's piloting skills will soon be needed, Senku starts wondering if something has gone wrong with the timing. Did his watch malfunction? Just then, Dr. Zeno contacts him and explains the situation. Because they are in zero gravity, liquids do not behave normally. That means the revival fluid could fail if everyone were revived at the same time. To avoid that risk, Senku was awakened first. For a moment, Senku thinks Stanley would have been the better choice, but he quickly realizes the real reason behind Zeno's decision. Zeno wanted Senku to experience space first, because ever since he was a child, this had been his biggest dream. Soon after, Stanley wakes up as well. Unlike Kohaku later on, Stanley doesn't seem surprised at all. Senku points this out, but Stanley simply shrugs and says he's just a soldier who follows orders. Zeno then tells them about a spacecraft from the 20th century that had no windows. The astronauts assigned to it refused to board because they wanted to see space with their own eyes. After all, who wouldn't want to witness the universe from up there? Stanley then asks about their oxygen supply, and Zeno reveals that they have more than enough oxygen stored. In fact, they have enough to wake up one additional astronaut. Without hesitation, they choose Kohaku. The moment Kohaku opens her eyes and sees the endless universe stretching before her, she is left completely speechless. Even someone as fearless as Kohaku can't hide her amazement. After that, Senku serves everyone packaged food prepared by Francois. While eating, Senku notices something familiar about the taste. It reminds him of the food served during the mission his father once took part in. Kohaku notices it too. She then wonders if the space station where Byakuya stayed might still be floating somewhere above Earth. Senku explains that it isn't. Without maintenance or control, it eventually fell back to Earth long ago, becoming nothing more than a shooting star. That happened thousands of years ago. After that, it's finally time to begin assembling the spacecraft. Under Stanley's control, the docking process begins. One by one, the modules start moving into position, and the first successful connection is completed. Back on Earth, everyone is watching and celebrating. Time Taiju is practically screaming his lungs out with excitement, though unfortunately nobody in space can hear him. Everything seems to be going smoothly until a problem suddenly appears. Their communication system begins malfunctioning. At the same time, strange distortions start appearing on the display screen. Only part of the image is visible, and with another module approaching, the timing couldn't be worse. Stanley immediately takes control of the situation and successfully guides the third module into place. While investigating the problem, Senku discovers something unexpected inside the circuitry: a single petrified human hair. That tiny stone hair had become lodged inside the system and damaged a critical component. At that moment, Senku realizes their mistake. Instead of using a last-second petrification and revival strategy, they should have already been petrified before entering the spacecraft. That single error has now damaged part of the system. The screen goes completely blank. Meanwhile, the fourth module continues drifting toward them. After checking the damage, Senku discovers that a capacitor has been destroyed. The problem can be fixed, but he has no idea how long the repairs will take. Then Kohaku notices something strange. The approaching module is adjusting its angle by itself. At first, everyone assumes it's impossible, but the movement is too precise. Someone has to be inside, and because that module is the lunar module, there is only one question left. Who in the world would be crazy enough to secretly sneak into a mission heading for the moon? And then comes one of the greatest moments in the episode. The mystery passenger is revealed to be Ryusui Nanami. Yes, Ryusui actually made it into space. The moment he appears, the entire atmosphere changes. Despite the risks, despite the danger, despite knowing that a single mistake could have cost him his life, Ryusui found a way to join the mission anyway. And the first thing he says, "All of space belongs to me." It is the most Ryusui thing imaginable. Everyone aboard the spacecraft is thrilled to see him, and the team back on Earth can't stop smiling either. Francois, meanwhile, isn't surprised in the slightest, because they knew Ryusui would never let an opportunity like this pass him by. Thanks to his efforts, the fourth module is successfully connected. Ryusui finally joins the others, bringing the crew size to 4. And honestly, seeing him here feels completely earned. While everyone else thinks it was pure luck, Chrome, Kaseki, and Francois know the truth. Even after giving up his seat on the rocket, Ryusui never stopped training. He prepared for this moment the entire time. Better yet, he also brought the replacement part needed to repair the damaged system. Senku quickly installs it and restores functionality. He then thanks the backup flight control team, especially Kaseki, who had the foresight to prepare a second control system just in case something went wrong. Now with 4 people aboard, Sai has to update all of his calculations. Soon after, the 5th and final module arrives. The docking process is completed successfully. The spacecraft is finally complete. Back on Earth, everyone watches the live feed as humanity's greatest journey officially enters its final stage. The trip to the moon begins. Zeno then explains how mission control will operate from this point forward. Responsibility for the mission is transferred to the Kingdom of Science team, who will monitor the spacecraft's distance, direction, and speed using radio signals and the Doppler effect. When Taiju asks what the Doppler effect is, Chelsea explains it using an ambulance siren. The sound changes depending on whether the ambulance is moving toward you or away from you. Using that principle, they can accurately track the spacecraft. Soon afterward, Yuzuriha reports that Senku's team is traveling at an incredible speed of 38,000 kilometers per hour. Everyone is amazed. Humanity has never built anything faster. To conserve resources during the journey, Kohaku and Ryusui are temporarily petrified again, while the others continue their work. 3 days pass. When Kohaku and Ryusui are finally revived, the sight before them is breathtaking. They have reached the moon. Back on Earth, Jen tests the sextant that will help the crew navigate through space. Chrome explains that the device can determine their position using the stars. Zeno reveals that this same low-tech solution was used during humanity's earliest lunar missions. Hearing that leaves Chrome and Suika stunned. Even after thousands of years, their ideas still align with those of the greatest scientists in history. But then comes a reminder of how dangerous this mission truly is. Zeno explains that once they pass behind the moon, all communication with Earth will be lost. From that moment onward, there will be no guidance. Only their calculations, experience, and instincts. Soon enough, they reach the far side of the moon. Kohaku notices that it looks completely different from the side visible from Earth. It is covered in scars and impact craters. Senku explains that countless meteors struck the moon instead of Earth. In a way, the moon has been protecting humanity for billions of years. As they prepare for the landing, Ryusui points out an important fact. Only 3 people can descend to the lunar surface. One person must remain behind to monitor the command module. Everyone assumes Ryusui will fight for the chance to be first. Instead, he volunteers to stay behind. The decision shocks everyone. Kohaku even reminds him that he always wanted to be the first person to step onto the moon. But Ryusui understands what is truly important. The mission comes first. Someone has to stay behind, and he chooses to take that responsibility. As the lunar lander separates from the main spacecraft and begins its descent, Jen asks Senku a simple question. What will you say when you take humanity's first step on the moon? Everyone starts offering suggestions. Taiju even repeats Neil Armstrong's famous quote, only to learn that it has already been used. But Senku doesn't care about famous lines. For him, this moment isn't about making history. It's about saving humanity. It's about uncovering the truth behind petrification. It's about confronting why man. Finally, the lunar module touches down. After thousands of years, after the collapse of civilization, after rebuilding science from nothing, humanity has returned to the moon. Senku takes a step forward, places his his foot on the lunar surface and says, "This step is for science." And with that, the episode comes to an end. The episode starts exactly where the previous one ended, with the first human from the stone world finally stepping onto the moon. Senku points out that humanity reached this moment through countless small steps. Starting from a primitive world, they have now made it all the way to the moon, and their mission is being broadcast live back on Earth. In the control room, Dr. Zeno warns everyone that they still don't know who Y-Man is, and whatever they're facing may be far beyond their current weapons. Chrome reminds everyone that they still have the net launcher designed to capture Medusas, as well as the capsule Medusa they brought with them. Chelsea wonders how Medusa could even work on the moon since nobody can speak in a vacuum. Ryusui explains that Medusa isn't just a petrification weapon, it can also heal. The capsule is filled with air and contains a microphone, allowing voice commands to be transmitted through radio communication. Kohaku gets a little too excited while trying to demonstrate it, causing everyone to panic. After their discussion, the team heads out using their lunar vehicle. Jen comments that this trio is probably the fastest team humanity has ever assembled. As they continue driving across the moon, their journey is still being broadcast to Earth. They're heading toward the location where they previously spotted the mysterious black dots. Stanley points out that anyone on the moon can probably see them. They're driving across a mostly flat surface, and their vehicle would be visible from far away. Senku jokes that maybe they should have landed directly at their destination. Soon, Kohaku spots a flag. Stanley recognizes it as an old American flag planted during humanity's first moon mission. Senku explains that cosmic radiation has completely bleached away its colors over time. Kohaku wonders if Y-Man might be nearby, but Senku reminds her that the moon is enormous, and coincidences usually have logical explanations. Stanley agrees and warns everyone not to make assumptions, because that only benefits the enemy. While patrolling, Senku suddenly tells Kohaku to take out the Medusa. As she begins opening it, Stanley immediately stops her and points out that Senku never actually gave that command. Ukyo quickly notices that someone is using Senku's voice and radio frequency. Then a voice speaks through the transmission. "Thank you very much for opening it." Before the Medusa can activate, Stanley reacts instantly and flips the vehicle over. The live broadcast suddenly cuts out on Earth. Senku immediately tells Kohaku to throw the Medusa away. She launches it into the distance. Since the moon's gravity is only 1/6 of Earth, the Medusa travels much farther before activating and glowing in the sky. Everyone on Earth watches in shock. Then Kohaku notices that the mysterious black spot is moving toward them. Senku realizes that the mystery they've been chasing ever since that first flash of light is finally about to be solved. The mastermind behind humanity's petrification is about to reveal itself. Although the video feed is still malfunctioning, the audio continues. Then comes the biggest reveal of the series. Thanks to Kohaku's incredible eyesight, she notices that the black particles aren't particles at all. They're Medusas. Every single dot is an individual Medusa, and Kohaku's thrown Medusa is now floating among them. Senku immediately realizes what happened. "So you copied my voice and activated the Medusa. Can you communicate through radio waves?" A voice answers, "Yes." At that moment, everyone realizes the truth. Y-Man has been beside them all along. Y-Man is Medusa. The floating Medusa itself is the life form. Everyone is completely shocked. Then Medusa repeats the same phrase humanity has heard before. "Do you want to die?" People on Earth hear it too. Jen wonders if Y-Man is trying to petrify humanity again. Chrome asks whether Y-Man wants to kill them or save them by turning them into stone forever. To start negotiations, Jen approaches the microphone and tells Senku that when visiting another nation, it's customary to bring a gift. Kohaku is confused because they don't actually have a gift. Meanwhile, Senku is deep in thought. He realizes that if Medusa is asking whether they want to die, then it must value its own survival as well. Senku addresses Y-Man directly. He admits that humanity still can't replicate Medusa's technology, but they can recharge the diamond batteries that power them. Humanity has advanced through countless scientific steps to reach this point, and that ability is their gift. Jen tells Senku to be polite if he wants successful negotiation. Instead, Senku immediately says, "Stop turning people into stone." Y-Man simply asks, "Why?" Before things escalate, another floating Medusa appears behind the first one and tells it to stop. Stanley quickly realizes that Y-Man isn't a single entity. There are many Medusas. Senku begins putting the pieces together. He guesses that humanity was petrified because the Medusas wanted intelligent life forms capable of maintaining them. Dr. Zeno immediately understands. Medusa is a mechanical parasite, a life form that requires an intelligent host species to survive. The Medusas confirm this. They explain that radio waves are the clearest sign of intelligent life. Any civilization capable of producing regular radio signals demonstrates advanced intelligence. That's how they locate suitable hosts across the universe. Senku asks why they petrified birds before targeting humans. The Medusas explain that it was simply a test. They first targeted another species before moving on to humanity. Chelsea sarcastically points out that turning creatures into stone and calling them fortunate sounds ridiculous. The Medusas respond that every life form eventually dies, including themselves. Oxygen causes them to oxidize and rust, eventually ending their functions. To them, death itself isn't frightening. The process leading to death is. Every living thing seeks to continue existing, and petrification provides a way to resist death indefinitely. According to Y-Man, the petrified state is the ideal state of existence. The Medusas explain that intelligent beings rarely accept immortality willingly. However, when those beings are petrified, the Medusas receive an endless endless source of maintenance and survival. The Medusas reveal that the original units sent to Earth eventually stopped functioning because of oxygen exposure. The remaining Medusas stayed in lunar orbit for nearly 3,000 years, waiting for another opportunity. Eventually, they began receiving radio signals again. The crystal accessories used by Senku's people acted like antennas and amplified those signals. Realizing intelligent life had returned, the Medusas tried teaching humanity how to use petrification technology by transmitting instructions through radio wave. People heard commands like 1 meter, 1 second, activated Medusas, and became petrified. The Medusas believed they were helping humanity overcome death, but humanity rejected the offer. As more Medusas became inactive and their batteries weren't replaced, they began questioning whether humanity was truly the right host species. Then radioactivity increased dramatically. When Senku created GPS technology, the Medusas detected powerful signals once again. That confused them even further. If petrification granted immortality, why did humanity keep reviving itself? Why did they refuse eternal life? This is why Y-Man repeatedly transmitted one message. Why? Eventually, the Medusas decided to petrify Earth again and restore what they believed was the proper state of existence. They copied humanity's radio frequencies and voices to trigger another global petrification attempt. However, humanity revived once more. At that point, Y-Man couldn't understand humanity's behavior at all. Senku finally understands the meaning behind Y-Man's famous question. To the Medusas, humanity already had immortality. So every time humans revived themselves, Y-Man interpreted it as willingly choosing death. That's why it kept asking, "Do you want to die?" Kohaku then asks about the Medusa's earlier misfire inside the glass container. Y-Man explains that after its battery was replaced and oxygen was removed, it simply needed a way to determine its own location. It briefly activated the petrification wave as a signal to confirm its existence. So it was never a malfunction. It was intentional. Taiju admits he still barely understands any of it. Gen summarizes everything simply. The Medusas are intelligent creatures who genuinely believe petrification is the ultimate gift because it grants immortality. They want humans to maintain them, replace their batteries, and help them reproduce. Senku points out the flaw in their logic. If they wanted intelligent hosts, turning all of humanity into stone for thousands of years was incredibly counterproductive. Instead of preserving civilization, they nearly destroyed it. The Medusas explain that when they first discovered evidence of humanity on the moon, they assumed humans were far more advanced than they actually were. Since humanity took thousands of years to revive, the Medusas overestimated their capabilities. Dr. Zeno notes that from the Medusas' perspective, their conclusion was perfectly logical. Senku finally says that humanity may still be behind Medusa technology, but scientific progress is accelerating rapidly. They don't even understand how the Medusas float against gravity yet, but eventually they will. Humanity now has millions of people working together with science. That changes everything. Senku then makes a proposal. He wants a one-on-one negotiation with Y-Man. Jen is confused. Why negotiate one-on-one? Senku clarifies. By one-on-one, he means all of humanity against all of the machine life form. Now both species will sit down and decide their future together. With that, the episode comes to an end. The episode begins exactly where the previous one left off. Senku wants to negotiate directly with Y-Man, and immediately afterward, all the Medusas gather around him and lift him into the air. At the same time, Dr. Zeno explains something important. Y-Man communicates using radio waves, and the Medusas are designed to absorb those waves completely. The dome they create around Senku blocks every signal from passing through. That means nobody outside can hear or understand what is being discussed inside. For everyone watching from the outside, it is impossible to know what is happening. And just like that, one of the most important conversations in human history begins. Inside the dome, Senku asks the Medusas how they are able to float. The Medusa casually replies that it's simple and immediately scans Senku's entire body. Within seconds, it analyzes him completely and even demonstrates its abilities by projecting images. A giant skull-like image appears before Senku. Looking at this technology, Senku realizes something incredible. The Medusas completely ignore the limitations of gravity. The conversation continues, but neither we nor the people outside can hear any of it. Jen can only wonder what Senku is saying. Then we finally return to the discussion itself. Senku makes an unexpected proposal. He asks the Medusas to give humanity their bodies. Y-Man is surprised and asks why they would ever do that. Senku replies that if they cooperate with humanity, they could help create something that would benefit the entire universe. Outside the dome, Kohaku, Stanley, and everyone else are still waiting anxiously. Nobody knows whether the negotiation is succeeding or failing. Stanley points out that they need to prepare for the worst. For all they know, Senku may have already been petrified. The moment those words are spoken, the Medusas react. A voice suddenly echoes out. It claims that humanity lacks the intelligence necessary to reproduce Medusa technology. Their attempts will fail, and eventually the Medusas will abandon Earth in search of a more suitable civilization. Stanley doesn't hesitate. He immediately fires a net launcher. The Medusas react instantly, scanning the attack as it approaches. Some of them stop functioning after the impact. Then Y-Man responds. It praises Stanley's shot, admitting that some Medusas had forgotten about such possibilities. Even so, Stanley remains ready for battle. At the same time, Kohaku grabs onto several floating Medusas and silently hopes that Senku's negotiation succeeds. Back inside, Senku changes his approach. He tells the Medusas to stop thinking like parasites and start thinking about possibilities. If they stay on Earth and work alongside humanity, they could create things neither side could accomplish alone. Y-Man dismisses the idea. The probability of success success is 0. Senku smirks. No, it's close to 0, but it's not 0. Then he pulls out a simple stone and wood hammer, a symbol of where everything began. He reminds Y-Man that humanity started with tools like this, and yet, within only 10 years, they reached the moon. At that moment, Y-Man begins to break apart. The skull-shaped projection starts shattering. It declares Senku's request impossible, and announces that the Medusas will leave Earth behind in search of another intelligent civilization. One by one, the Medusas depart. But then something unexpected happens. One Medusa stays behind. It admits that Senku's proposal carries almost no chance of success. Almost. Yet not completely. And that tiny possibility is enough. The Medusa decides to place its faith in humanity. Senku accepts. Humanity's reward for reaching the moon isn't treasure, power, or immortality. It's a single Medusa willing to trust them. As the remaining Medusas disappear into space, Earth's future changes forever. During the journey home, the surviving Medusa explains that it can remain functional inside a vacuum container because oxygen is what causes deterioration. Kahaku then asks a simple question. Who created the Medusas? Where did they come from? The Medusa doesn't know. Instead, it asks humanity the same question. Who created humans? Where did humans come from? Nobody has an answer. The conversation turns philosophical. The Medusa questions why humanity rejected eternal petrification. After all, endless life sounds like the perfect solution. But Senku disagrees. Life isn't valuable because it lasts forever. It's valuable because it doesn't. Ryusui agrees immediately. What's the point of existing forever if you never truly live? The Medusa struggles to understand. Yet Senku points out something important. The Medusa itself chose uncertainty when it separated from Y-Man. Deep down, it also wants to discover something new. And that's exactly what science has always been about. Exploring the unknown. Eventually, the spacecraft returns safely to Earth. Everyone is waiting. Friends, allies, scientists, and warriors. The celebration begins immediately. Medals are awarded. Memories are captured. And for one final moment, we see nearly every important character standing together. It's a beautiful image. A reminder of just how far they've come. Then the story jumps several years into the future. The world has advanced dramatically. We see amphibious aircraft, modern vehicles, new industries, new governments. Humanity is rebuilding itself at an incredible pace. Francois explains that Gen's negotiation skills have become extremely valuable in helping unite nations. Ryusui has established a massive organization dedicated to supporting worldwide projects. Naturally, Gen jokes that Ryusui probably owns the rights to everything. And honestly, he's probably right. Meanwhile, Tsukasa travels around the world, helping maintain peace wherever he's needed. Ukyo works within the Reconstruction government. The police force has expanded. Scientists continue researching. Explorers continue exploring. Students continue studying. And every member of the Kingdom of Science is contributing to the future in their own way. Taiju and Yuzuriha even open a fashion company together. But despite all this progress, one event manages to bring everyone together. Their wedding. And honestly, I'm so happy the series actually showed it. After everything those two went through together, they deserved this moment. Because sometimes, seeing characters finally reach happiness is just as satisfying as any battle. The celebration lasts for 2 days because everyone is too busy rebuilding civilization to attend at the same time. Meanwhile, Chrome reveals that once his current scientific project is complete, he plans to marry Ruri. And just like that, another future begins taking shape. Then comes the biggest mystery. The science team is secretly working on something. Something so ambitious that even Tsukasa acknowledges it could change the world once again. When Gen finally arrives at their laboratory, he discovers scientists from all over the world gathered together. They're studying Medusa technology, analyzing it, disassembling it, trying to understand every secret hidden inside. Then Gen notices a strange device under construction. Everyone is working on it. Senku, Chrome, Kaseki, Suika, Joel. Even the Medusa itself is observing. Gen asks the obvious question. What exactly are they building? The Medusa answers first. They are trying to correct mistakes from the past. Gen freezes. His brain practically stops working. Then Senku finally reveals the truth. The project isn't a rocket. It isn't a satellite. It isn't a weapon. It's a time machine. And just like that, the biggest reveal of the entire finale arrives. Even after reaching the moon, even after uncovering the mystery of Y-Man, science still isn't finished. The dream continues. Zeno explains that if time travel becomes possible, humanity could potentially prevent countless tragedies. Maybe they could save people before petrification ever occurred. Maybe they could send information into the past. Maybe they could change history itself. The possibilities are endless. Ryusui laughs. Because that's how science has always worked. People call something impossible. Then science proves them wrong. Step by step. Discovery by discovery. Generation after generation. Gen starts tearing up. Not because the project is impossible, but because he genuinely believes this team might actually succeed someday. Whether it takes decades, a century, or even longer, the Kingdom of Science will continue moving forward. Finally, Senku delivers one last message. Humanity will use science to challenge even time itself. They will discover new possibilities, new rules, new frontiers, and above all else, they will never stop exploring. And with that, Dr. Stone comes to an end.